Hello, today we will be focusing on relations, KPIs, and interactions in a visualization or business intelligence platform. Okay, so let's start. First, we will talk about data relationships. Okay, it's important through our data sets that we define the relationships between different fields. Okay, fields in the data set. So the first aspect, once we have imported or connected, sorry, we have connected the data warehouses or data lakes to the Power BI or Tableau or the platform ClickSense, the platform that you have chosen. Once we are connected, it appears all of the fields that we have included in the different tables and data sets. Okay, so now it's time to define how are they related. Okay, so we have to relate different fields. There are four main types of relationships. The first one is a one-to-one cardinality. Okay, so it's just one-to-one relation. So the married to, in this case, one male, it's married to the other woman. Okay, would be a example of one-to-one cardinality. Then, for example, one-to-many cardinality, it's we have one customer which is called Salvador, and Salvador can place n number of orders. Okay, so is one customer related to several orders in this case, okay, to several uh, rows in a table, for example, which represents different orders that can be made by the same unique customer. Okay. Then it's many to one cardinality. Okay. So, for example, there are thousands of students that are related to the field college. Okay. So in this case, it's a n to one relationship, many to one cardinality. And the other one, which you should be very careful to use it in Power BI and other platforms, okay, and just use it when completely necessary, okay, because unless it can drive to some failures in data representations, it's the many to many cardinality, okay. So it's, for example, a relationship between several students that are joining several courses. Okay? So you have many to many cardinality in this case. Okay, and then there are other like self related to just to themselves, which is not commonly used, but it could be used for setting times or something that it is not related to other uh, fields. Okay? But the most important are these four that I have told you. Okay, now that we have related the different fields, it's time to define what do we want to calculate, okay? Which are our metrics? So, in order to do that, we define a KPI. A KPI is a key performance indicator, okay, which allow us to measure the performance of the specific goal or objective that we are targeting, okay? So there are four different types of KPIs. You could find more classification, more types. Each author and expert has their own criteria. But for me, I define those three: the strategic, it's high-level organizational goals, the strategy roadmap, of the big bullets or the global KPIs that we want to achieve as an organization. Okay, they are linked to the strategy, and some of them are related to the mid or the long term. Okay, then we have the operational that they are measuring financial efficiency, processes, operations, KPIs that allow us to be profitable in the short term, okay, or generate impact in the short term, okay. But both strategic and operational are aligned to the whole, are affecting the whole company most of the times, okay. Then we have functional that they could be targeted for specific departments like the KPIs for the finances department or for the maintenance department, or some business units inside that department. For example, I don't know, the night shift of logistics. Okay, they could have some functional or business units KPIs. Okay, and then there is another typology, but not a typology, but some classification between if this KPI is trying to predict the future outcomes, okay, or if it's based on tracking past results. Okay, it would be the last subtype or classification here. Well, there are some best practices before defining the KPIs. The first one is to understand user needs. Okay, so too much KPIs is not good. Okay, it's better to have less KPIs, but they are targeted to the goal that we have, and that they are useful for the user. Okay, so first practice the empathy and understand user needs. Then align that KPIs with the business strategy to the mid and long term. Okay, we cannot have, or we shouldn't have, short-term KPIs that are against the mid and long-term strategy. Sometimes would be necessary, but not recommended. Okay, so first align all of the KPIs with the strategical plan or strategic roadmap of the company. Define clear targets, okay, numerical targets, that what do we want to achieve. Okay, the KPIs should lead us or guide us to the business targets and goals. Okay, and then define smart KPIs. They should be specific, measurable, achievable. uh, I don't know, the R's that uh, reto in Spanish. just just 1 second, that I don't remember the word in English. Sorry. Well, it should be relevant, okay, for the organization, and then it should be timely based, okay, which is the DT letter. Okay, so smart KPIs. I think in a previous module, like maybe in the second lesson of the first module, we talk about smart goals, okay, for defining a plan, strategic plan. Well, then another best practice for sure is clarity and accessibility. If we are measuring a user or an employee with a KPI, it's it's recommended or it's necessary that that employee has access to that KPI, so he can uh, check if it's going properly or not. Maybe not in a daily basis, but using a report, or if it's necessary, it's needed, they can access every day. Okay, and it should be clear, or it should be clear how to check it if it's um, being properly done or not. Okay, then review and adapt. Okay, this should be fluid and flexible, and we should be checking the KPIs and aligning them with the current goals, and adapt some measures, some objectives depending on the decisions that the company is taking. Okay, avoid overload. Okay, as I said before, too much KPIs is the same as no KPIs. Okay, so define key performance indicators. Okay, the key ones that are leading us to the results, not 50 KPIs to measure the performance of one team, okay, or one employee. So 3, 5 KPIs per department or per functional area, which are the big goals, and then for sure for each individual or level, you can have their own KPIs, okay, but not more than 3 to 5 per person would be recommended, okay, in order to focus on just some of them, but that deliver results and positive impact, okay, and then for sure define ownership. Who is the owner of that KPI to be fulfilled or to be achieved? Okay. Once we have defined the KPIs, it's time to see how do we calculate them. It's like, For example, one KPI is for the sales area, it's profit margin. Okay, so we should tell Power BI or Tableau how do we calculate them. Okay, so we are going to calculate it with revenue minus costs divided revenue. Okay, and then we will link that revenue to a field from a data set or from a specific table. Okay, costs we will do the same, and revenue we will do the same. Okay, and we have with that we should or we have created a new field which is called profit margin inside the Power BI or Tableau tool. Okay, which is linked to revenue and costs which are coming from another data set. Okay, there are some types of calculations. Okay? The most commonly used sure are aggregations like sum or some average or divisions or mathematical operations. Are there a lot of different combinations? Okay, also statistical ones. Then we have the logical formulas with if, then, case, or other booklet like for, while. We can combine that syntaxis, logical syntaxis, in order to create some actions regarding to the previous results. Okay. Then time intelligence, year to date, month to date, this month, year over year. There are different time intelligence calculations there. And then some other date-related operations or string of characters operations, okay, like combining name and surname, or combining the code, the country code plus the bank account, other operations like this related to text. Okay. Well, the dashboard. The dashboard is the layout that is presenting those KPIs that we have been calculating. Okay, in a visual manner, and there are some filters, slicers, or some graphs and KPI cards that we can add. Okay. Some best practices are clarity over complexity. Okay, keep it simple, please. Then a logical layout, well structured, organized, easy to access and easy to understand. Then high value metrics, sure, less metrics, less KPIs, but that can generate impact. And then please keep a look to the color palette and fonts. Okay, keep it accessible, simple, and not not overdressed. Okay, and also highlight anomalies or goals into the dashboard, and important test user experience and user interface with the users from the company. Okay, the people that is going to use it every day or periodically. Wow. Once we have created the dashboard and we have all the formulas, the calculations, the data connection, and we have the KPIs defined, etc., it's time to show the results, these KPIs. Okay, they can be presented as a number, but we can use graphs like in Excel or other spreadsheets. Okay, so we can use bar or column for comparisons, lines to see trends, pie or donuts to see proportions, some area to see cumulative totals, heat maps for densities, scatter plot for correlations, bullet chart for performances or targets. Okay, and there are some interactive visuals that allow users to uh, drive into the dashboard by themselves. Okay, so we can use some filters or slicers. We can have some drill down up, tooltips, and also highlight and cross filtering. Okay, here we can see an example from Power BI where we can see different type of graphs like a map, line, bars, and this one that I don't remember the name here on the left, but it's quite interesting. Thank you.